Good day, everyone. Today we will be looking at the salaries and wages, accounting grade 10 for term 2, which we'll be discussing on the week 14. Okay, as now we are starting, as I start with my introduction, learners will have to be quick on their feet, use their recalling abilities as I introduce the concept to be defined and discussed by asking a series of questions in relating to where this concept were used in the prior lesson. This will immediately weighten the cognitive science of learners as they will have to apply this prior retaining and critical thinking abilities. After, I will just ask questions to lead learners to the new content. As you can see from my introduction, I've put up the link of YouTube where we will, before I start my lesson, I will let the me and the learners will go through the link that okay, I took this YouTube link. It's about the introduction to salaries and wages, and this will help learners to have the better understanding before I can start with my lesson. As I start now with my development part, I will distribute the worksheet that I made, the copies that I made to learners. And as you can see, my first worksheet, it's based on the baseline assessment. So learners must study the following job advertisement and answer the question that follows. As you can see, possible question based on the advertisement, it's that I can ask them what kind of the job it's advertised, what salaries is offered, what does PM mean, what does the NIC mean, what is a CV, will the person who takes this job take home the amount of 30,000? Once this discussion is fleshed, I will then go on further asking learners to evaluate and analyze concept by providing the class with individual perspective on the concept. This will create a cooperative teaching and learning environment as the discussion will be all inclusive and facilitated by me, myself, and I as the educator. Okay, so now we are done with the worksheet number 1. So we will be discussing the worksheet number 2. That's about the concept of employer and the employee. Learners will then be provided with a set of concepts, as you can see there, and will have to guess which definition does it describe the best, as you can see my definitions there. This will be done in pairs. The pair with the two highest score will receive a homework pass. They will be allowed to skip an informal homework task that does not count for marks, which they can use their own whim, which still applies to the terms and conditions. Therefore, okay, so now we are done with the worksheet number 2. So now we'll be discussing the worksheet number 3 and 4, which the worksheet number 3 it focuses on discussion of the monthly salaries, and then the worksheet number 4 uh, it's about discussing the weekly wages. As you can see, the worksheet number 4, once the visual have been shown and the answers given, I, as the educator, will lead a discussion into why this definition applies to the different concept. This will better the understanding of learners, better conceptualized the work. Okay, so now we are done with our worksheet number 3 and 4. So now we'll be discussing the worksheet number 5, which it's about the differences between the salaries and wages. As you can see, the way I applied, the way I compared them, the two, and then thereafter, learners will copy down a set of notes displayed to them on PowerPoint regarding the meaning of the different concept. I will briefly go over the notes once the learners have copied them down before moving on. Learners will then be given a set of notes to paste into their workbook. The set of note will provide different tips on how to study the concept, uh, how to study the different concept most effectively, catering the different learning style through using explanations, um, the using of explanation, images, as well as the link to audio discussion on YouTube based on the concept. Okay, is this is to aid less learners in the study process. Therefore, will only be discussed for a period no longer than 5 minutes, mainly to inform learners on the purpose of these notes. Following the class discussion and explanation behind the visual use to identify and analyze the concept correctly, learners will be met with a real life scenario whereby they will need to determine the appropriateness of the content in which this accounting concept are used, and they will need to evaluate and critically analyze and identify a way to solve the scenario at hand. Okay, so this will allow them to gain some real life knowledge in relation to the topic, transforming their prior knowledge into a new founding context which regards to the topic. The question will be: study the following job advertisement and answer the question that follows. Once learners have provided their individual answer to the class, we will then discuss the question together and formulate the correct concluding answers by posing the initial question for learners, allowing them to critically think, make use of organizing, evaluating, and analyzing skills in order to uh, provide a significant answers that what's this that requires them to use the recalling abilities. Okay, so now we are on the final step, which is the consolidation. Once learners pose a better understanding of the concept with regarding the concept discussed in the development of the lesson, I will then provide them with the instructions on their formal task. This will be an explanation of a concept. They will have to complete it individually in the workbook and explain the different concept discussed. Learners may refer to their note as well as to their textbook when completing this assessment. Learners will write down the instruction above and will begin brainstorming their concept, discussing in the workbook. This time will also afford learners with the opportunity to ask any questions relating to their assessment during this period of during the period of the planning. So learners can ask me any question regarding the salaries and wages, how the um, uh, how we calculate our net pay, the net pay, and then also they must be able to identify the deductions that most that most we deduct before we can sorry before we can um, before we can give the employer their net payment. Any questions, learners are free to ask me. And then also learners are required to go through um the the activity in their textbook. I think it's 14.2, to go through and do them is also homework, so that uh, tomorrow when we start our lesson, okay, they can be able to calculate some of the concept that we dealt with and have the bigger picture of whatever that we're doing today.